Hi guys, Azure Ace here and I am back with a Danganronpa 3 theory, specifically referring to the future arc that's going on right now, and I feel that it's a very interesting theory that only a handful of people have really caught on to, other than people who have noticed through other people's videos of this. But there's two parts to this theory, and they both are: what if the characters are actually in a different building to what they started in? And what if there's a hidden 16th member within their ranks? You're probably wondering, there hasn't been any signs of either of those happening, what you're talking about. Well actually, let's take a little closer look into the episodes. Now first of all, we'll start with the whole different building theory, which is the part that I noticed myself after rewatching specifically episode 2 a couple of times. And I noticed something very odd and very peculiar that I did mention briefly in my discussion of episode 2 by saying, interesting happens, Kirigiri seems to have found something. She goes up and feels the door for some reason, but doesn't tell anyone. Now I did hit this realization after a while after doing the discussion, so I couldn't mention it in the discussion itself. If you remember, back in episode 1, Sonosuke threw a knife at Asahina and it got stuck in the wall. Now, just take a moment and look at this picture and try to memorise the patterns and such on the wall. It's a kind of greenish blue colour with lines of wood going down the wall, and as you can also see, Sonosuke's knife left a pretty big hole or dent or whatever you'd like to call it in the wall. But this isn't actually the wall, it's actually the door to the meeting room. Now keep that in mind. So now we switch over to episode 2. Now I'm going to show you two shots of the same wall, or the same door even. The first shot, as you can see, isn't all that clear because it's being blocked by Miyaya, but the second shot, do you guys notice anything familiar? The door has the exact same greenish blue colour and the exact same lines going down the door, however, it lacks the hole that Sonosuke made with his knife. Isn't that suspicious? A hole from a knife by the ultimate blacksmith doesn't just disappear like that, and I'm pretty sure Kirigiri has noticed that herself as well. There are also two other things I would like to point out in relation to this. The first is in episode 2, Monokuma does say this whole game is being recorded and broadcast to the entire world, which could also, however, show the fact that the security cameras in the Future Foundation building do have recording functionality. The second is also in episode 2, we see multiple times these Monokuma monitors everywhere in the building. We see them in the meeting room, we see them when Bandai is roaming the halls, we see them everywhere. Now why on earth would the Future Foundation have monitors that represent the mascot behind Despair? They wouldn't, right? Now I was going to mention how we haven't seen Hagakure since episode 1, but as of the writing of this script, episode 3 has just come out, and yes, we did get to see Hagakure again. However, I will talk about that in the discussion for episode 3. One final thing I want to propose is that, what if they are actually in a new version of Hope's Peak Academy? I mean, the Future Foundation was originally meant to be an overseas branch of Hope's Peak Academy, but I mean the actual Hope's Peak Academy from the first game, but completely done up. That would explain why we see Hope's Peak's vault door in the opening of the future arc, and why we see Monokuma in Hope's Peak Academy in episode 1 and episode 2. But now then, the other theory. This was actually first thought of, or rather, I first saw it from Weeby News on YouTube. Link to her channel is in the description below. And that is, there is possibly a hidden 16th member within the Future Foundation building the characters are currently in. Now first of all, I'm going to actually speak about the thing that Weeby News noticed, and that is that the counter we see at the beginning of each episode, at the beginning of episode 2, we saw the count at 15 survivors. However, during the Monokuma Hunter game, we saw 15 characters, one of which was dead at the time, being Chisa, meaning in actuality there really was only 14 of the 15 survivors on that screen, which leaves us with one character. Who is the 15th survivor? There are quite a few theories floating around. I will only speak of my own and the one that Weeby News came up with hers being, like I said before, what if there's a hidden 16th member among the group like how Mukuro Ikusaba was the hidden 16th member posing as Junko during the first game. It's not all that far-fetched. We have got characters who could pose as the 16th member, with the two main picks being either Monika Toa or Junko Enoshima, which honestly I wouldn't back Kodaka off doing at all. He's brought Junko back before, as we know, and I'm actually gonna back this up a little because of something that Kizakura said during episode 3. Now he's just watching from a balcony, just watching things that are happening, and he says this really interesting line. He says, "I need to meet up with that girl." Who's that girl? It can't be anyone from the Future Foundation, and I'll explain why in my episode 3 discussion. Don't want to discuss too much here, but who is it? Is it Junko? Is it Monika? Who is it? The other theories that I've came up with personally is that, what if the 16th character is just simply Hagakure despite him not being in the killing game? Which I honestly think is the most likely situation here. And the final idea I have is that, what if the character is actually Chisa? There have been many theories floating around comparing her to Junko and things of that nature, but it seems weird to me now that she was killed off so quickly despite having so much emphasis put on her and, you know, like promotional material and things like that. I mean, is it to show no one is safe? Is it because she has all the screen time in the world during the Despair arc? I mean, it's so confusing. There is literally no way to predict what's going to happen in this future arc. I honestly have no clue. Kodaka is pulling out all the stops in this conclusion and prelude to the end of the Hope's Peak Academy arc. But nevertheless, that is all for today's video, guys. I hope you found this theory interesting. I do think it does hold some sort of merit, but nevertheless, I'm not going to end the video off just as I normally do. I actually have a special message from someone that I would like you guys to hear. Thank you for coming to the video, guys. Check it out.
It is I, Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, and you're watching Azura Ace. Subscribe for more content like this one.